Imagine a time not so long ago when your parents or grandparents could support an entire family on one ordinary salary. They'd purchased a comfortable home in a safe neighborhood, raised several children without constant worry, owned dependable cars, enjoyed yearly family vacations, saved steadily for retirement, and even had room in the budget for unexpected joys like weekend outings or home improvements, all while sleeping soundly without the shadow of financial dread hanging over them. Now snap back to reality in early 2026. You're almost certainly earning far more than they ever did, even after accounting for inflation. You have advanced skills or a solid education, you put in extra hours, you track every expense meticulously, you pass on impulse buys and luxuries. Yet you still anxiously scanning your bank app before filling up the gas tank or grabbing essentials at the store. You're postponing marriage because the timing never feels right financially. You're rethinking kids altogether because the costs seem insurmountable. You're scrolling through home listings that feel like they're from another planet, wondering if building generational wealth is just a relic of the past. If this resonates deep in your gut, know this: you're not alone, and you're definitely not the problem. Tens upon tens of millions of hardworking Americans are trapped in this same invisible squeeze right now. The most infuriating truth? It's not from laziness, bad decisions, or lack of ambition. The entire foundation of the economy has been quietly rebuilt beneath our feet, shifting the rules in ways that make the old playbook obsolete. Hard work used to equal security and forward momentum. Today, it often just equals survival. The American middle class hasn't been erased from official reports or government data. It's just been systematically hollowed out in the real, day-to-day lives of everyday people. That sacred promise of stability through effort feels irrevocably fractured. But once we shine a bright light on the exact mechanisms, the soaring costs of housing, raising families, basic necessities, stagnant real wage power, and shrinking opportunities, the fog clears. This isn't about individual shortcomings. It's a profound structural redesign of what a normal life is allowed to cost. Let's unpack this layer by layer, starting with the most basic yet deceptive question. What does it truly mean to be middle class in 2026? According to the most recent Pew Research Center guidelines and Census Bureau figures from late 2025, middle-class households are defined as those earning between roughly two-thirds and double the national median household income with adjustments for family size and sometimes regional costs. The median household income sits around $83,000 to $85,000, placing the middle-class bracket approximately from $55,000 to $170,000 for an average family of 3 or 4. Statistically, just over 50% of Americans still land in this range. But here's the cruel illusion. These metrics obsess over raw income figures while completely sidelining what that income can actually secure in today's world. In the 1970s through the 1990s, middle-class status unlocked genuine, life-changing perks. Purchasing a family home on a single paycheck, managing childcare without it devouring your entire budget, affording reliable transportation, steadily growing an emergency fund and retirement nest egg, treating the family to annual getaways, and sensing tangible progress. Life getting easier and more secure with each passing year. Jump to 2026, and those very same foundational elements feel like extravagant dreams for an expanding swath of the population. The middle class persists stubbornly on paper and in policy discussions, but it has evaporated from the actual experiences of millions who technically qualify yet live paycheck to precarious paycheck. The undeniable proof emerges when we shift focus from income graphs to the relentless explosion in the costs of simply achieving baseline milestones. Housing stands as the undisputed heavyweight champion of financial strain. Entering 2026, national median existing home prices range from about $380,000 to $410,000, with some reports showing slight dips or modest growth depending on the region. But that surface-level number barely scratches the surface of the ordeal. Pile on mortgage rates hovering stubbornly above 6%, property taxes surging in flood-prone or high-demand states, homeowners' insurance premiums skyrocketing due to climate events and rebuilding costs, and the brutal down payment barrier, often demanding $40,000 to $80,000 in cold, hard savings just to qualify. Countless families now earn enough on paper to handle monthly mortgage payments comfortably. Renting offers no real escape route anymore. In metropolitan hubs, a livable two-bedroom routinely exceeds $2,500, demanding dual incomes merely to keep a roof overhead. Home ownership, The historic engine of middle-class wealth accumulation has transformed from an achievable rite of passage into an exclusive club, barring entry to even dedicated, high-performing earners. Then there's the profound challenge of starting and sustaining a family. Contemplating children? Steel yourself for a financial marathon. Center-based infant childcare averages $12,000 to $20,000 per year across the country, spiking to $24,000 plus in high-cost areas like DC or Massachusetts, often equaling or surpassing a full additional salary that simply disappears. For families with 2 young children, those early years can mimic carrying dual mortgages without owning extra property. Layer in essentials like formula, diapers, medical copays, health insurance, family premiums, transportation upgrades, extracurriculars, and future college funds. The updated total cost to raise one child to age 18 now routinely surpasses $300,000 to $350,000 in typical middle-class settings. This isn't about spoiling kids with extras. These are the non-negotiable building blocks of a conventional family existence. Yet they've skyrocketed at rates dwarfing wage gains, contributing directly to historically low birth rates, extended delays in parenthood, and outright decisions to forego children entirely among younger generations. Run the historical comparisons. Over the last 20 to 25 years, housing expenses up 150 to 200% in many markets, childcare often doubling or tripling regionally, family health premiums tripling nationally, higher education costs nearly doubling, median household incomes over the same span climbing a comparatively modest 50 to 60%. The resulting canyon is staggering. Core necessities have sprinted ahead while earnings have merely jogged, converting formerly workable household budgets into perpetual high-wire acts. This burden lands disproportionately based on geography, effectively turning middle-class viability into a postcode lottery. Earning $120,000, $150,000 annually in the Midwest South or more affordable pockets, you might still secure a spacious home, accumulate meaningful savings, support children without constant trade-offs, and carve out space for enjoyment and relaxation. That identical income in prime coastal cities, tech corridors, or booming metros like Seattle, Denver, Austin, or vast swaths of California and New York. You're probably renting long-term, requiring combined high salaries just for fundamentals, forgoing travel or hobbies, and perpetually sensing you're one setback from disaster. The once universal national middle class has splintered into fragmented regional experiences. Where you plant roots now often overrides how diligently you work, how educated you are, or how savvy your choices. This explains the pervasive imposter syndrome among outwardly successful professionals. They'd benchmark against the secure, upwardly mobile lives their parents led, not sterile national averages. The erosion penetrates even deeper into the fabric of routine existence. Inflation is unconfined to abstract economic indicators or nightly news percentages. It's the gradual vanishing of any meaningful cushion between obligatory bills and your incoming paycheck. Ever larger portions of earnings are now irrevocably committed to immovable pillars, rent or mortgage, escalating health premiums and out-of-pocket costs, vehicle payments and fuel, utilities, groceries, connectivity bills, childcare, or lingering student debt. The remnants for adaptability, enjoyment, or unforeseen needs, frequently mere crumbs. Families routinely trim restaurant meals, pause subscriptions, defer appliance replacements or vehicle upgrades, abandon vacation plans, second-guess social invitations. These incremental sacrifices accumulate into a pervasive, grinding anxiety. No genuine safety net means a single surprise, a dental emergency, transmission failure, or abrupt rent hike threatens total derailment. Households manage to cover the absolutes yet rarely feel genuinely ahead or optimistic. Forward progress stalls. The future appears as constrained or more restrictive than the present. When that essential breathing room dissolves, millions instinctively reach for the contemporary workaround: debt. Here, as the transformative shift that's flown under the radar, debt has evolved from financing aspirational leaps to subsidizing bare minimum continuity. Classically, borrowing targeted transformative investments, a primary residence mortgage, education for higher future earnings, perhaps a vehicle or small business launch. In 2026, it's increasingly underwriting ordinary sustenance. Credit cards covering groceries and fuel, personal loans bridging emergencies, and the explosive rise of buy now pay later schemes for apparel, furnishings, excursions, gifts, dining out, even routine household replenishments. Recent data shows over 90 million Americans engaging BNPL services, with penetration deepest among millennials and Gen Z. Usage rates among younger cohorts double those of boomers, and nearly half report occasionally stacking plans or lagging on payments. The appeal seems straightforward. Divide a purchase into 4 bite-sized chunks, often interest-free initially, but overlap multiple commitments, slip on timing, and tomorrow's earnings are already encumbered before arrival. Debt has silently assumed the role once held by robust wage appreciation. Rather than salaries expanding to accommodate rising lifestyles, borrowing inflates to preserve the illusion of normality. This coping mechanism sustains appearances in a malfunctioning framework, but it exacts compounding penalties, fees and interest when cycles break, foreclosed future choices, escalating psychological burden as balances mount. The classic relief valve advancing via career progression is simultaneously constricting. Historically, escalating expenses were counterbalanced by job hopping for raises, internal promotions, or field switches. As 2026 dawns, that outlet narrows noticeably. Overall postings lag prior peaks, with entry-level and mid-career positions contracting most acutely amid ongoing sectoral recalibrations. Secure incumbents clutch their roles fiercely. Voluntary transitions carry amplified peril in uncertain climates. Salary negotiations or bold moves demand greater courage. Real wage momentum decelerates, vertical mobility decelerates, recoveries from disruptions extend painfully. Prominent employers telegraph restraint. Widespread hiring pauses, operational trims, even in everyday consumer categories. Patrons subtly downgrade home-prepared meals, supplanting cafe runs. Store brands overtaking premiums, curtailed minor treats or outings. These micro-retrenchments cascade upward. Diminished revenues prompt restrained expansion. Fewer vacancies, perpetuating the constriction. So where does this trajectory deposit us moving forward? The archetypal middle-class archetype 1: reliable income sustaining homeownership. Family comfort, savings accumulation, and reliable advancement has undergone irreversible metamorphosis. Enduring cost elevations necessitate elevated entry earnings, strategic relocation, ironclad debt discipline, diversified revenue sources, and unwavering fiscal rigor. Clinging to nostalgia prolongs inevitable discomfort. Confronting the transformed landscape head-on equips us to navigate and potentially prosper within it. If this deep dive illuminated the unseen forces weighing down countless lives and clarified why progress feels eternally elusive despite outward effort, subscribe immediately. The unfolding years will richly compensate those who internalize the altered rules and pivot proactively, not those passively awaiting a return to bygone eras. You've pierced the veil now. The pivotal inquiry remains: how will you recalibrate your approach to secure advantage in this redefined arena starting today?